Okay, now it's letting me click it. So when I click it, we're on. Here we go. I think we're live. Paul,
Yay! Hey, hello.
welcome to the sixth Keyboard Chronicles live stream. We've made another one. Paul, how are you doing?
Oh, mate, I'm going great. All the better to be here with you, and here's some behind the scenes for our viewers and listeners later on. Everyone who checks this out afterwards, as well as those who are here. I'm having some technology problems, so my background's gone. The internet wasn't working when I got here, so I'm hotspotting off my phone. I couldn't make my camera work, so hasn't been the smoothest start, David.
No.
But
Well, I
as
just.
always, you've been a patient and forbearant man, so thank you for your indulgence.
Oh, good. I just realised that looking at myself on camera that my camera's failed in that you can see my full messy room. So go me. You can see a stethoscope and you can see a humidity. What do you call those damn things on the wall?
Barometer.
Barometer. That's the
Barometer.
one.
Yeah.
My keyboard stand with covered up keyboards. What a mess. Anyway, that's all right.
Well, that's okay. If the keyboard lets you down, just get the stethoscope on and do a quick diagnosis, and
That's
you
right.
should be right.
So yeah, no, look, good to be here, and appreciate those of you tuning in. And we've got we've got 4 people at the moment, and growing on the chat. So a big hi to all of those out there. I can see
G'day.
Tammy's posted in chat as well. I think Walter's there, and a couple of others I can't see right now until you post in chat, folks. But really pleased to have you here.
Yeah, and we're also very conscious of the fact that a lot of people check these live streams out after the fact when it's more
Yes.
convenient for them. So we're saying good day to all of you too, even though you might not be here right now.
That's exactly right. Well put. And that's a nice T-shirt you're wearing, by the way, Paul. What's that you're
Oh,
wearing?
thanks, David. Yes, well, let me tell you something. I was at a music festival on the weekend, and a friend of mine called David Holloway turned up as a guest, and in his hand he had this beautiful T-shirt. So check this out. It fits me beautifully too, David. I love it. Looks good. So, folks, if you want to get hold of one of these, look how good they are. Fantastic. I love it.
I'm
Keys
glad
on
you
the
like
bottom.
it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is on the merchandise tab of our website. But yeah, so Paul's alluded to the fact that we got to catch up face to face. Well, it's nearly
Rare treat.
exactly a week ago. So
Yeah, it was. It was.
and
Yeah.
so Paul is part of a team that put on an amazing festival called the Odyssey Music Festival. It was the first one, Paul, wasn't it?
Very first music festival. So me and my colleagues, we own a music promotion business. So we don't just play in bands, but we promote bands and promote events. And we thought, why not run a music festival? How hard can it be? Pretty hard, as it turns out. But it was actually a really successful event, which was exciting, quite equal parts stressful and wonderful, and kind of relieved when it was all over and it didn't turn into the Fire Festival or Woodstock 1999. And David was our guest. David flew, and as a reminder to those of you who might not be regularly catching up with us, David and I live 1,000 miles apart. So David flew over with his lovely wife, and it was great to chat to them. Although I don't know that I was the best host, David. I think distracted would be the best way you could describe my demeanour.
Very legitimately distracted because what a huge logistical exercise. And just to show our dedication, though, we actually drove over. So we actually drove. So we got home about 48 hours ago. We'd done 3,214 kilometres total back via Melbourne. But no, the festival was absolutely stunning. Paul, do you want to run through what the acts were? Because it was just, for me, at my age, just about the ideal 4 tribute acts you could ask for.
Yeah, so by way of context, it was a one-day festival. We tried to get 4 of the best representatives of tribute bands that we could. It was a tribute festival, so it was designed to people who love tribute bands and going back into time. And so we started off with a David Bowie cover called Ashes to Ashes, and then we had a band called Dreams who do Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, then Killer Queen Experience who do Queen, and then Echoes of Pink Floyd, which is my band, and we finished off with a lovely set of Pink Floyd tunes, and it seemed to go over very well with the audience. And I guess I had a few people say to me on the day, if you don't like at least 2 or 3 out of Bowie, Fleetwood Mac, Queen, and Pink Floyd, and you're sort of our age or older, something's wrong with you. So it went really well. So it was a lot of fun, and a couple of thousand people turned up, and everyone was well behaved, and no incidents. And yeah, so what more
No,
could you ask
yeah,
for?
very, very good. No, great night. So,
Mm.
yeah, hopefully we see more of that in the future, Paul. I'm sure you're not able to make a comment on whether you're going to do more yet, but gee, I hope you can. Though it was
Yeah,
excellent.
look, that's certainly the plan. We're intending given this first one was quite successful, we're intending to take it around the country and repeat it in Adelaide. But yeah, there's still a bit to work through with that just yet. But that's certainly the intention.
Yeah.
Yes.
And from a keyboard viewpoint, I mean, standing side stage there for the majority of it, there was a nice diverse setup, and you managed to not have to have one rig that everyone had to share. You essentially managed, all four of the bands had keyboard rigs, didn't they?
Yes. Look, yeah. Well, that was unusual. Every band had a keyboard player, and every band had their own keyboard rig, and it worked really smoothly. So I've got the biggest and most complex rig, and the benefit of being headline act is we were able to just stick that on a riser and stick it in the back corner. So it just sat there, and I did offer it to the other bands, but keyboard players being keyboard players, we tend to like our own setups and workflows and what have you. So the other guys just brought their stuff on and off pretty quickly and easily, and did a great job. There was a backline Nord Stage 3, which the Dreams guys used, and the Queen guys had it was a Yamaha stage piano of some kind sitting on the bottom. I can't remember which.
Yeah, actually, I can tell you what it was. It was an S90.
It was. You're 100% right. It was an S90. I was actually chatting to him a bit afterwards, and he said he really enjoys the S90. He said he really gets them in Australia. You tend to get versions of Roland's, you get a Roland RD 700 or something usually when you order backline pianos, which is certainly what I end up with all the time. But he was delighted to be able to backline an S90, so he was very pleased man. Great player. They were all great players, all the other keyboard players. And then the gentleman from Ashes to Ashes has his own. They're an Adelaide-based band, so he was able to bring his own stuff, and he had a big '88 Korg Chrome, which was doing most of the heavy lifting for him. So it was good to see the different rigs coming and going, but everyone was happy to use X stands. There was no worries around that, David. And they all played great keyboard players and all the other bands. You know how when you watch other musicians and you go, they're just all better than me. That's how I felt. So it was great. It was really good experience to meet them.
Yeah, it was. No, great night. So, and speaking of keyboards, I thought we'd briefly talk about some new releases since our last live stream. So some of our viewers will be totally aware of this news, and others that aren't watching this stuff day to day may not. So, just in Korg land, Paul, and I know you're a major Korg fan. They've had a busy couple of months, so I thought we might start off with it's the Korg Key Stage, isn't it? The new MIDI controller with aftertouch.
So the Korg, the Korg, they've got I think we're going to talk about the key stage and also the mod wave as well. A MIDI controller with aftertouch. I think a lot of people will like this. That's my impression, David. I know when a new keyboard comes out, and I'm on various, as you are, keyboard forums and chat groups and things on the internet, and one of the first, I always laugh, I think, who's going to be the first person to say it doesn't have aftertouch? I'm not happy with it. So the fact that we've got this controller, it's got that aftertouch capability, I feel like it's going to do well. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think for those that love the major brands and are after a new option for a MIDI controller with aftertouch, I find from a live viewpoint, depending on the genre of music you're playing, aftertouch you really don't need a lot of the time. I love it for some sounds, yes, particularly with recording, but and there's only a handful of use cases, I'd argue, live. Like if you're a jazz player, how often are you using aftertouch? Even in a rock band, even if you're using lots of pads, I mean, maybe like a Pink Floyd stuff. Paul, would you find aftertouch?
Well, here's the thing. None of my keyboards have aftertouch, so I don't use it at all. So there you go. But so I don't disagree with you in the sense that, do you need it? Probably not. But I feel like people will like it because I know a lot of keys players like having that option.
Yeah.
But I've got to be honest with you. I don't use it. I don't feel I miss it. So interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And two interesting. And the mod wave is obviously a whole different sort of kettle of fish, and they've certainly done a lot of work with the Wave State. I'm going to get them all wrong here now. The Mod Wave, the Wave State, and the one that I'm totally forgetting that someone will scream at me. They've done released a lot of amazing stuff, and also new versions of it was the Wave State, because I nearly ordered one. Anyway, so I think Korg are really on a roll. And as far as major brands go, the Yamaha have just released in the last couple of weeks their new Montage series.
Yeah, that looks exciting.
Yeah, right? So the M series. I mean, I love all the brands. I mean, I own Roland. I nearly owned a Korg again, but I've had a Kronos and I have a Modi X7 and so on. The Montages are beautiful pieces of gear. The new versions, what they've added there is incredible. The ANX stuff and everything else. They are highly desirable pieces of gear, but I still won't buy one because I know it's a nearly impossible barrier to overcome. They're too heavy. They are just too heavy. It's like a Kronos. I can't remember the exact weight specs, but even the 61 key is just for an old guy like me, and particularly we interview a lot of guests, as you know, Paul, that have to cart keyboards up long flights of stairs, even at the pro level. They're not going to buy these things for live work, but I totally get them as a beautiful thing to have in the studio, or if you've got roadies. If you've got roadies, bring it on.
Well, look, it's a good point. Well, talking to average white band, right? 161 key keyboard, bang, all you need, easy. That is a challenge with the big flagships, isn't it? I guess there's a lot of stuff in there, and I've had this experience too, as we've mentioned in previous live streams. I've upgraded to a Nautilus 61, where I used to use a Chrome 61, and it's significantly heavier. Like, it's a lot heavier. And it's only a little 61, but it's much heavier. So that obviously the 88s, then you throw in the hammer actions and all that with these flagship keyboards, and they certainly do get heavy. But I don't know. I like the look of that Montage. It's a sexy looking thing, and what Yamaha really get right is the compatibility between the MODX and the Montage series, and the way it goes from one to the other. I think that's something that other manufacturers could learn.
Yeah.
And like you, David, I own Roland's, Korgs, and Yamahas, although I mainly use Korg. But I think the new Montage is going to make a lot of Yamaha fans pretty happy, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Roland, I was on the verge of selling my Phantom 07 because I was going to be involved in a music project this year that fell through, and I bought the Phantom 07 for that. And so I'm on hiatus with my other band for the rest of this year, and I thought, I really don't need this. It's sitting here. I'll probably offload it and just recoup some of the money. But then I got it out to take photos to put on Facebook Marketplace, and then played it for 5 minutes. I'm keeping it.
It's like when you dress your house up for sale and go, oh, hang on, I want to live here again now. It's so nice and all dressed up.
Yeah, I'm not selling it. It's a beautiful piece of gear. I'm thinking, no, I like it too much, and I don't need the money that badly. I'm going to hold on to it. So I mean, the three, I'd argue there's not a big three anymore, but Roland, Yamaha, Korg have certainly hit their stride in the last year post-COVID, which is great. And then obviously you've got your sequential back, you've got Oberheim back, all the software. I mean, even Native Instruments have released the latest iteration of their controllers. If you're a Native Instruments plug-in user, which I am heavily, I've been wanting to buy one of those for years, and what they've released with the new versions, the S series, I think they are. Just brilliant.
Yeah, the S Mark IIIs now they are, I think. S number of keys Mark III. They are fantastic looking things, aren't they?
Yeah. And light.
Yeah, which is a MIDI controller, that's kind of what you want, right? That's the point, isn't it? Not nice and light, so you're not lugging heavy hardware keyboards around. I think that's the idea.
That's right. So, and a big hi to Cornelius Mulholland Music has joined us. Hi, Cornelius. I've said hello in chat. Lovely to have you here amongst the other people that have jumped in.
Welcome, Cornelius.
And so, that's probably the main things as far as keyboard, just that there's lots out there at the moment. And I suppose the other point of debate is, given the Korg controller with Aftertouch and all the other units and the Nautilus sort of coming into its own, there's divided opinions, but I'm not seeing a Kronos 3 coming anytime soon.
No, I don't reckon. I mean, they seem to have pushed all their chips in on the Nautilus, especially with this idea of now having it with aftertouch or being able to retrofit aftertouch to your Nautilus as well. And I feel like that's where they're at. And I know there's a lot of hope and excitement for a Kronos 3, but it seems to me it would be almost, I don't know, a lot of expense at their end to produce something that's maybe not radically different. That might be a controversial statement. If it is, that's okay. I'm happy to get the feedback. But yeah, I tend to agree with you. And I just wanted to circle back to your point, David, about the if we can call them the big three. And I'm often getting asked, should I get the Yamaha or the Korg or the Roland or whatever? And I sort of feel at this point, these keyboards coming out now, they do so much and they're so good that, you're talking about the Phantom and we were talking about the Montage and the Nautilus or Kronos or what have you. It's more down to personal preference, I think, a lot of the time as to how you get along with the keyboard and your workflow choices, and that's why I'm sort of in the Korg camp. It's just I've just had them for years, and when I've been programming my Nautilus, which I finally finished programming all my Pink Floyd stuff into it, although it's not forward compatible with the Chrome, which is annoying, because I'm so au fait with the operating system and the workflow, it didn't actually take me that long once I devoted some hours to it. So it's just bang, bang, yeah, I know how that works. I know what that means. I know where I'll find this. And I really only had to go back to the electronic manuals probably half a dozen times over a period of hours. So it was really good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do the stats nowadays. It's a bit like car brands, that how many keyboard owners are rusted on when they upgrade models, that they stick with the brand they know. I can sympathise with that. Same. I mean, I like the Korg approach, but I also love the Yamaha approach. And now I've got a Modi X. If I ever upgrade it, it probably will be another Yamaha. I just like the way it works.
Yeah, well, you've been a big Yamaha fan for a while.
Well, I bought a
So
Titomai. I was seeing that S90. I owned an S70,
yeah,
its little brother, but was still an 88 key from memory. But beautiful, beautiful keyboard. Weighed a ton, like the new Montages do. But yeah, they're just
yeah.
beautiful keyboards. But yeah,
Yeah, well, as I said, the gentleman from the Queen tribute who was playing it, he was exactly the same. He was like, "Oh, I can't believe I've got an S90. I'm so happy." So it just shows you. And I'm the same. If on those rare opportunities I get to backline an SV1 or something, I just about flip my lid. I get so excited for it. So I think a lot of us we like what we like and we're very comfortable with it, which doesn't mean another brand's poor or not
no.
as good or what have you. It's just when you get used to something, you do get quite rusted on.
Yeah, that's right. And just a shout out to our viewers live. If you've got any questions or comments to make, do throw them in. We love answering questions. I think Paul and I'd say neither of us are particularly gurus in regards to the technology, but happy to try and answer or discuss anything you bring up. But while we're waiting for anyone to throw in any comments, I just thought we'd talk about some upcoming guests. So we've had a busy
Yeah.
few months recording, and the frequency's picking up, Paul. So I know. And you're joining us, I think, for the majority of them, but there's a couple. Sadly, your actual music making career means that I can't have you, which is more than reasonable. So I think I've got 4 interviews coming up in the next 10 days. So I thought I'd give our live stream viewers a bit of a sneak peek of that. And our Patreon supporters have already been told these ones as a whole, I believe. So just a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. You do literally help keep this boat afloat.
Yes, we love you.
Yeah, hugely appreciated. So next episode that'll go live in the next week is Mr. Daryl Beaton, who to non-Australians may not be that well known, but he's the musical director of the Australian version of Idol. I just realised I don't want to get the franchise wrong, but it's Australian Idol. And but also is the MD and or keyboard player for some really iconic Australian artists. As far as Jessica Malboy, Delta Goodrem, was MD or keyboard player for Guy Sebastian, and does a whole bunch of other great stuff. So that's amazing. Looking forward to having Daryl on the show. That'll be episode 96. Go
Been getting him on for a while, haven't we, David?
Yeah, Daryl. Yeah, Daryl's a busy man,
Yeah,
so he was always keen, and then we managed to nail down an interview about a fortnight ago. That was. I don't know whether you know a band called the Hold Steady, Paul, but I love the Hold Steady. Yeah, you do. So I've always loved their style. Their singer is a guy that sort of sings and talks. He's sort of a cross between the guy from the B-52s, but he can also sing. It's a very conversational sort of singing style. So Franz Nicolay from the Holdsteady is coming on to do an interview in the next week or so, assuming that all goes ahead. So very much looking forward to speaking to Franz. And then Berenice Scott, who's the keyboard player for Simple Minds, she's coming on again in the next week to 10 days. And for those of you that watch our rig tours, Grant Larcom, who is one of the keyboard players that's called upon to join Postmodern Jukebox, he's coming back to do his full interview. So we sort of caught up with Grant for a rig tour when he was touring in Australia, and we're catching up with him. And then Paul, I haven't told you this. This is literally live, and I'm going to post it in chat. I think we have our guest for our 100th episode. So you ready? I'm going to post it in the Riverside chat, so it should just pop up for you. And I want you to react without giving away who it is.
Because done.
Because it's not. We've had agreement from his manager to do so, but it's not locked in yet. So and it's not Ben Montench, before anyone gets excited, because it's not, sadly. But this is a great get as well. All right, there you go.
Right. So
I was a bit excited by that. That literally only came through about 3 hours ago. So I know it's really, really cruel, and it's like the equivalent on Facebook of vague booking, but we've got a really nice artist. So I feel relatively safe in then disclosing what otherwise would have happened with our 100th episode had we not got a key person to join us, a keynote musician to join us.
Do you know what'll be good about that particular guest too is we'll be able to compare and contrast some things and thoughts we've had from a previous guest, and that's all I'm going to say around.
Yes, very valid.
That. But yeah, one of our most popular interviews we've had on the podcast. This will be a really great opportunity to take some of the thoughts and ideas to the next level. So I'm very excited. How about that? I hope we're teasing you appropriately, viewers, listeners. Yes. I know something you don't know.
And Cornelius has just posted, he's more of a Nord guy. Look, I love me some Nord.
Yes.
Cornelius. One of my biggest regrets is selling my Nord Electro 5D. I wish I'd never done it. I may be involved in a project in the coming year that would have just been perfect for the 5D, so I may end up buying another Nord.
Yeah, well, the Nords are build quality A triple plus grade keyboards. And we all know the thing with Nords, if you love them, you love them, right?
That's right.
There's no doubt about it. And they sound great, and they have that iconic on-stage profile as well, which is really cool. So yeah, they're obviously wonderful keyboards. Sadly, very, very expensive.
Yeah, particularly in Australia. Yeah, the exchange rate's killing us. Yeah, with
like buying a car. I'm not exaggerating. It really is like buying a car. They're so expensive.
Yeah, they are, sadly. So on the 100th episode, one last thing. So had we not got a keynote speaker, Paul and I were going to essentially create the anticlimactic 100th episode, which would have been Paul interviewing me.
We're still going to do that.
We'll still do that at some stage, but yeah. So just to take any excitement out of the 100th episode, had we not gotten a keynote person, and that still may occur if this person doesn't confirm. But their manager has said yes.
You, David. I can't wait. I can't wait to be on the other side, just grilling you, mate.
It'll be super exciting.
I'll get you to play some stuff live. It'd be good.
That's right. So so that's our upcoming guests, and we actually have. I'm just thinking. Actually, I've neglected to mention one. We have Mr. Jim McGovern, who has worked with Avril Lavigne. I was going through his bio again. He's worked with so many different people.
Pretty much everyone.
Yeah. So Jim, we're looking forward to. Mr. Jim Sheridan has agreed to come on. I'll cover off his career where we interviewed. Jim's had an amazing career with a bunch of people. So lots happening there. One I'll just put out there that has in no way responded, and I'm not expecting to. When I was in Melbourne, Paul, on the way back from Adelaide, I saw the Bee Gees documentary, which I'd failed to see before. So it was made around 2016, 2017. And talked about the Bee Gees from, start to end. Amazing documentary. Highly recommend it as both if you like the Bee Gees or just as a musician. And
I haven't watched that either, David, so I should check it out.
Yeah, it's so their keyboard player was a guy called Blue Weaver. And I've contacted Blue in the hope I can score him for an interview, but I mean, I'm sort of putting the feelers out now. But the Bee Gees treated their musicians, so their keyboard player and their bass player and their drummer, extremely well, and even gave them sort of songwriting points and royalty points towards the album. So the Bee Gees were
That's
not
great.
only amazing artists in their own right and wrote, I had no idea how many songs they wrote for other people. It's actually
Yeah, well, they're
gobsmacking.
prolific songwriters, and clearly good blokes as well, David. What
Yes.
else?
So
Get from a
anyway,
bunch
so Blue Weaver's on the horizon, as are about 40 others. We just to pull back the curtain, we have a spreadsheet where every guest we approach, we track and when we've asked, so that we don't annoy people. And there are so many people that we've got maybes and yeses to, that we sort of booked a bit ahead, Paul. But it's a nice place to be in. So
Yeah, we're flat out, and you're like, I have to pay tribute to you, mate. You are working so hard getting all these guests. I just turn up occasionally when I can and ask a few dumb questions.
no, it's good.
But the energy you put into it, and the amount of the caliber of guests we've get, and I have said this before, we're at a point now where we occasionally get people approach us
Yes.
and ask if, and some of our higher profile guests have actually approached us and said, "Hey, I'd love to be on your
Yes.
show." And yeah, it's very very surreal and very humbling. I
It
have to
is.
say.
No, I
Yeah.
agree totally. And Tammy just mentioned, is it Nick Rhodes? No, sadly, it's not Nick Rhodes.
Oh,
So,
Walter will go into a spin if it's Nick Rhodes,
yeah,
but
so Tammy said
no.
Walter would have a heart attack. Walter would indeed have a heart attack, but sadly, no, it's not Nick Rhodes. That one may end up being permanently impossible. I cannot find inroads into his management, sadly. But I will, without giving away too much, I have approached a previous guest who was, in the last few months, was touring with Duran, and sort of put out the call, look, I know this is a big ask, but is there any way you could find out Nick Rhodes' contact details? And to their huge credit, they came back and went, would happily do so, but I don't have their contact details myself. And this is an iconic player with another band, so it just shows you, yeah, they're a hard bunch of people to get onto.
Oh, and look, without in any way wanting to sound negative or disparaging, because that's not the intention of what I'm about to say. With some of our really high profile guests, they can often be hidden behind a few layers of
Yes.
management. And that's understood, right? Because otherwise you've got all sorts of things just diverting you and distracting you. So I certainly don't blame them. But oftentimes, if we're lucky enough to get the direct contact email or number of someone, they'll often just go, "Yeah, I'd love to be on the show." Where oftentimes, if they're protected by a few gatekeepers, we sometimes struggle to penetrate
Yes.
the wall. It's just the way it is.
That's
It's,
right. No,
understandable, and these people are busy, and they need these gatekeepers to prevent them from being pulled in 4,000 directions by people who have ill intent.
That's right. No, absolutely agree. And Cornelius has just said, is it Greg Fillinganes? Sadly, it's not either, Cornelius. We have made one reach out to Greg, but only via Instagram, so I don't count that as a true reach out. He's very much on our bucket list. Do not fear.
He's definitely on our list.
And as is, I mean, Paul alluded to that it's aligned with a previous guest, so this will help rule out one. Is the other one that's on my bucket list is David Paish, now that you mentioned Greg Fillinganes, because Greg played with Toto at one stage. And we've obviously had Steve Majora, who plays with Toto currently. We've had Steve Piccaro on. David Paish is on the bucket list, but sadly I can't get near him either. Nor Greg Hawkes. Greg Hawkes from the Cars was my ideal 100th guest, but I can't get near him as far as any sort of contactability. But it's all part of the fun.
Yeah, and definitely everyone. We do have. David has a very long list of targets. He's like a hitman. He's just crossing them off as he goes. So we've got lots of really exciting guests that we are approaching, are yet to approach, will approach. And as always, if people have great suggestions for us, we're always happy to take them on board and try.
Yeah, that's right. Always keen to hear those suggestions. So thanks, Cornelius, as well. So, yeah, Paul, I don't have a lot else to cover beyond excited about the upcoming guests. Just wanted to touch base. I'm hoping we can get together again before Christmas, before end of the year. But though I know you've got something like, 6 or 7 gigs coming up in the next few months.
Yeah, I've got, I think between now and Christmas, I think I've got 7 or 8 shows lined up. But you never know, we might be able to squeeze something in, mate.
Yeah, great. And I mean, thank you again to all of those that have joined us live. We really do appreciate it. It's, you're giving up part of your evening or morning or whenever it is. So that's always hugely appreciated. Yeah, do check out the website and the merchandise section if you're after anything. I haven't told you this either, Paul, but I've just set up a whole bunch of affiliate relationships with music related manufacturers, so that they're not up there yet, but things like East West Sounds, for example, I can tell you they're famous for a lot of their sample libraries and stuff like that. I've just set up an affiliate relationship with them, and there's a few more to come. I think Belkin for IT gear and stuff like that. We'll be linking to those from our merchandise section. Just every little bit of that definitely helps.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's not too expensive in operation, but we do want to make it at least cost neutral. And Paul's hair products alone sort of run into the dozens of dollars a month. So
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. I should get an influencing deal going with my
Sunsilk. Sunsilk. There's one from the past.
Oh dear. I can recommend L'Oreal products, everyone.
There you go.
That's how we keep looking young and fresh.
Yes.
I'm actually 120 years old.
That's right. You don't look a day over 119 though. So that's
thanks, mate. Thank you. Very kind.
So thank you, Aaron. Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Always good to see your face as well. Except we're not seeing it, but you know what I mean. So we'll see you again for the next live stream or episode, whichever one comes first.
See you, everyone. Thanks again.